You have myself, Bruno Cicchini, and my co-host Hagen Fritz. And you know the motto. Can you repeat it for us?
No, I can't. Even
Oh,
it's right here in front of me, but I'll let you. It's your thing. I don't want to take it
it's
from you.
our thing. There's no building without us teaming.
Teaming. That's
Good
right.
job.
I don't really want to take credit for it. If it turns out that people don't care for it, then it's all on you. But I enjoy it.
We're gonna be part of a team, Hagen.
Yeah. Well,
How are you?
I'm great.
How's the R&D world treating you?
Treat me well. Yeah.
I heard you guys are on a little R&D tour.
We are. Yes. So we're these next 2 weeks, I suppose. We're heavily focused on our OKR. I guess finishing up some of our key results. Well, I guess starting them and finish whatever. We're focusing on our OKRs. Is what I'm trying to say. So a lot of that is trying to figure out, like as I mentioned before, whether people want us to kind of focus on more quick implement versus these deep, heavy lift ideas. And so just a reminder for those, for everyone out there, James Donald Holmes, he sent out a survey, I guess
What, do
last
you know
week.
when it was?
It was Wednesday, almost probably not 24.
7 days ago.
Yeah, almost a week ago.
Math is hard.
To the point. Yeah, I know, it is hard. It's to everyone. And so if you haven't filled out that survey, please fill out that survey. It's going to help us out a lot figuring out.
Is it a long survey, short survey?
Oh my gosh, it's so short.
Long?
It couldn't be
Oh.
any shorter. It should take you. Well, actually, I know the time. I have the data on the time. I think
it here?
it's not here. I didn't print it out for us, but
Oh.
I believe it was 3.13 minutes is the average time it takes someone to fill it out. So, and James said 3 minutes, so he's pretty spot on there.
Wow.
So-
He's a pretty smart guy.
He is, yeah, from time to time. But so that's one thing. So just a reminder about the survey. So take that if you do have the time. It only takes you 3 minutes. So,
Perfect.
and then on top of that, we are
There's
doing.
more.
Oh yeah, we are doing a little tour of the RO offices. So yesterday we were in San Antonio, so we got to meet with a few people down there. We've met with Victor Enrique, I believe, and then Lawson Yeager. And so we kind of talked a little bit about the same exact thing, but had a more in-depth discussion with those folks. So again, deep dives versus quick implementation.
Have you found any cool insights that are publicly available, or is it still?
It's very early because there's only those two plus Marco Diaz at the South Lamar project just down the road. So right now, it's two of them are kind of more focused on that quick implement. They like that idea. They're not trying to discredit the deep dive, but
Right.
they kind of like the quick implement. Whereas there was one, I can't remember which of the three, who was more interested in those deep dives. But also trying to learn, do they know who the heck we are, right? Do they know that the R&D team exists? Do they know what the innovation station is, right? Have they ever interacted with it? Those kind of things. So trying to get a pulse on those kind of things as well as the idea and implementation. So that way we need to know if we need to market better. We need to make sure that people know that we're available as a resource to help them out, right?
You just leave them to Wednesdays at 1 p.m.
Right, yeah.
Learn all about R&D.
Yeah, they'll learn. Well, at least at the beginning, right? Us too. Assuming we stay on topic, which is 50-50.
I have a year contract, so I don't know. I need to talk to my publicist.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's exciting though. So hopefully you get to see more people, meet more people,
Mhm.
get
We-
engaged.
We are going to Houston today after work, and then tomorrow.
H-Town.
Yeah, H-Town. And we'll be meeting with 4 or 5 people out there. Can't remember the exact number. So we'll get the same thing there. We'll kind of.
And then Dallas will be next week.
And then Dallas is next week, the latter half, I believe Thursday, Friday. We're meeting with people those 2 days, and then Austin is just kind of peppered throughout.
And
those
I have a question
2
for
weeks.
you.
Oh,
So I know
I'm
you
here for
have these one-on-one sessions,
Mhm.
either at the offices or
Job sites, yeah.
job sites
Mhm.
or offices. Let's say someone wants to schedule one-on-one with you guys, and they were not on your first batch of picks. Can
Mhm.
they schedule an appointment with you? Can they reach out?
I suppose, but we
Oh, I
kind of
suppose.
the way we did it was we kind of tried to get a representative sample of everyone at RO. So splitting it out by departments as well as offices, we were actually pretty good on how well we parsed that out. So just trying to make it representative, and also kind of looked at their engagement with the innovation station. So we're looking at some of the heavy engagers, as well as some of those that maybe aren't aware of the innovation station or just haven't had the time to interact with it. So we always want more feedback, but that's kind of why that survey is there, so they can just kind of quickly answer some of those questions. Well, actually, they're all I think like multiple choice or rate me out of 5 kind of things. So we're still getting their feedback. It's just not as in depth.
Perfect. That's exciting though.
Yeah,
So
it's very exciting.
if you're in one of those offices or job sites,
Yeah.
look out for the R&D team.
Right, look out for our tour bus.
Yeah, it has our faces and our and James's face on the driver's seat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really just a navy-ish Chevy
No,
truck with the old Caligar in front,
ooh, looks
crack in
like-
the windshield in the bottom.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Just roll out the red carpet and
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excellent. I know. It kind of speaking of just news.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Have you seen the thing that was released yesterday?
I did. I saw it.
What is it?
I was gonna let you say it. Do you want to say it? I'll say
You can say it.
Okay, the newsletter, the newsletter, the year in review.
Yeah. Have you gone through it?
I have. I've leafed through it. I actually missed a photo of myself in there, but Cesar had pointed it out. Beautiful photo.
For those of you who don't know, haven't seen the email, the marketing team has put together a little newsletter going over kind of our 2022 year overview. And in it, you can learn a lot about RO and what they did last year. It's pretty interesting. You get to see our hires, our projects, our financials, our awards, and
promotions as well.
And I actually have a fun metric for you.
Oh, that's what the post-it is. Okay.
I have 4 numbers for you.
Four
I have
numbers. Oh, is it like a guessing game?
yes,
Okay.
sort of. We have 111, 107, and 81. So those numbers actually stand for the number of new hires, number of promotions, and the number of projects we have won this year.
Wow. Wait, what was the last number?
81.
81 projects, really?
Yeah.
That's bananas. Wow. Okay.
So I mean, if you're interested about this, you want to learn more about this, you can just check out the newsletter.
Yeah. I believe my picture's in there twice. So that's good enough for many people, I think,
If you want to see Hagen's pictures, make sure to also check out the newsletter.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you're in there too, if I'm not mistaken. You're
Yeah.
one of those.
I like to stay in the shadow. I'm
107s.
not a spotlight type of guy.
Yeah, that's
so
why you're on a podcast.
yeah,
streaming it.
I'm
Right.
shy.
Hmm.
So yeah, make sure you check it out. Shoot in your email, and pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely cool. I learned a lot. Being relatively new, didn't know pretty much any of the projects that we were working on, other than like the ones that are in close proximity. So it's kind of neat.
There you go.
I didn't know we were working on the MFA in Houston, so that was kind of cool.
Lots of cool insights. So
Yeah.
check it out. PDF, share it,
Yeah,
print it, frame it.
yeah.
It's all publicly available.
Right. I think it's actually being shipped to each of us. Is that not? Is that correct?
Yes,
I
sir.
think so. I think
Yep, producer.
you're
saying
getting
yes,
it right
yes.
now? Okay,
Yep. Yes, producer just said it just
A
came
hard
through.
copy.
Yeah,
Cool.
hard copy. So look out for that.
Yeah.
Oh, do you hear that sound?
maybe.
Do I hear it? Oh, it's time for a Hardhat question segment.
Good timing on the noise.
Good job up there. Whoever's
Yeah, who's ever up
controlling the
there?
noise. Good job. Do you want to ask it? Or you want me to ask it?
Whatever you want.
I'll ask it.
Okay. There's some good ones in there.
Yeah. This was from last week. Huh,
Oh, really?
interesting.
Hmm.
What color some your good
That's a good question.
I think we'll also answer this one. Oh my goodness. Someone needs to clean out this.
I'm just trying to make it look like there's a lot of questions.
This one's from Carolyn up in Dallas at
Hmm.
Sweet Carolyn. Bum, bum, bum. Which RO project is your favorite?
Okay. As I mentioned previously, I have a limited knowledge of the projects.
But we have have at least 81 projects.
I
Hagen.
know,
Can you
there's-
not pick one of the 81?
I can pick one. I don't want to let other projects feel bad if I don't know about them. But it's going to have to be the South Lamar project, not only because it's very close, but we're piloting, I think, 3 potentially, let's just say 3 R&D-esque things on that project. So we have the air quality monitoring, and then we have the digital safety form, which are both my kind of, I guess, baby projects, and then your mud tracker. So those 3 things. So it's very near and dear to the R&D's heart, because
You're a good guinea pig.
yeah, they are, and they're so willing just to try out whatever. They've never even
Have you talked to the team? Met them?
yeah.
Can you name 3 people in the project?
Paul Munchinger, Brandon Arias, Marco Diaz.
Nice.
I can go on. But
I think you nailed it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Since you asked, my favorite project in Naro has been, I would say, the Quincy, the Red River Apartments,
Okay.
over by the
Think I'm aware of those.
Red River side.
Okay. Oh yeah, I do know. We have another project like right next to it, right or near it. Am I mistaken?
You might be mistaken.
Okay, I'm mistaken. then.
But it's by the Rainy District. It's a 30-story skyrise.
Oh, I remember you talking about that a long time before I was here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was me for you. So
Well, what about that project did you?
I think it was a nice challenge. It's one of the few skyrises we've done, I think.
Okay.
And I think we had a very great team set up for that. So it was kind of cool to just go full VDC on it and just gonna knock it out of the park, like they say in basketball.
Was that one of your first like only Bruno coordination?
It was one of my
Really?
only
Wow.
first. Yeah, actually, kind of little hint to our guest today,
Mm.
very special guest.
Very special.
Uh,
Always.
so I know my first coordination project actually started in San Antonio
San Antonio. Oh, that
with
was
this
fair.
fellow gentleman,
Hmm.
Microsoft
Okay.
secret client.
Secret client.
uh,
Respect that.
but before we get into that, I think, do you want to ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
We have one more time.
Okay.
Question for one more question.
Question for one more
Question
time.
for one-
Question time. One more question. Yeah. Okay, this is good. This is good because okay, if you had to work at a different RO office, different location,
Oh,
which would it be, and why, of course?
I would say probably the Dallas office. I mean,
Pretty snazzy one, yeah.
a little selfish. I just want to test out that annex space they have over there.
It is pretty nice when I was there for orientation, yeah.
It feels like a nice, collaborative, innovative space.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, we're getting a renovation here in the Austin office. So
Yeah.
hopefully, we can get it to that standard.
Right up at that same tier, yeah.
And then I know that's kind of some of the other half of the VDC team is. So it'd be
Mhm.
nice to kind of just collaborate with them a bit more
Yeah.
in a closer, under the wing type of thing.
Yeah, sure, that makes
So-
sense.
What about yourself?
I do like the Dallas office. I do like the amenities they have, but I was I was in the I don't know if it was the San Antonio proper office, but I was in San Antonio yesterday. Wow. And I kind of like their setup. They actually had some pretty nice conference rooms, some nice workspaces, decent, a lot of coffee choices, which is great 'cause I drink way too much coffee. So, and what was really cool about it was you're in the heart of San Antonio, so like you can just like leave the office and walk around the downtown space, which is super cool. It felt really neat, and I like the downtown San Antonio. It's pretty nice area. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Well, with no more further ado, I think I'd like to introduce our new guest.
Mm.
Kind of fun facts about him. We both share the same tenure at RO. I learned that through our newsletter.
Oh, really?
We both have been here 5 years. I don't
Oh.
know if you know that, but
That's
high
pretty
five.
interesting.
And then we both started the same project down in San Antonio. So that's
Oh,
where I
really?
got to meet this guy,
The secret client.
secret client,
Yeah.
and got to meet him, got to work with him. So it was a pleasure.
That's cool.
So I would say he's like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man,
Mm.
but also like your wise man, Gandalf the Great. So hope you get to meet him. I'm excited for you get to talk to him. You don't
Yeah.
get to talk to him. James get to
James
talk to
gets to
him.
talk to him. Lucky guy.
But you get to listen about him.
That's always
And if you miss this episode, you can also watch it tomorrow in Apple Podcasts or Spotify
right or YouTube.
or
It'll
YouTube.
be on YouTube.
But enough about us, Hagen.
Yeah, it's
I
always
think
about
people
us.
are excited to hear and talk about Mark Urrabaz.
Woo! Ooh, I was so bored this weekend. I just didn't have anything to do. What did you do this weekend?
I mean, without power, it's hard to find things to do. Am I right?
I know. So, any suggestions on things I could do? Sans
Yeah.
power?
Actually, have you heard of Libro?
Libro?
Libro.
Like book in Spanish.
It is.
Oh,
We're-
okay.
We're bilingual here
Ah,
in Italian. Well, yes, with the Libro app, you get access to a wide range of books for you to do some audiobook reading.
oh, really? Do I have to sign up? Like, do I have to pay money for it or something like that?
That's when you're in luck, my friend. So RO has subscriptions for all the RO employees. So this is free to anyone who works with RO.
Really?
Really, really.
And is it like how many books can I get? One?
No, more than one.
More than one?
So a month you get the chance to download 2 audiobooks from
Two?
the library that RO provides.
That's already more books than I will ever read in a year.
I know. And if you have any New Year's resolutions to read a book a month, 2 months, a year, this is your chance to do that.
Okay. But what happens if I don't use that subscription? I mean, do I lose those books? Like if I download them, are they just gone after that month?
That's the beauty of this.
Oh,
Once
there's
you
so
download
much
them,
beauty.
you get to stay on your phone. So you want to listen it on the first quarter, go ahead. You're going to wait until next quarter. You can listen to it then.
Well, that's
And then
awesome.
You can access it from your phone. You just log in. You have to sign up a little bit. Easy steps.
Sign up with, I'm assuming, my RO
That is
email?
correct.
Okay.
Sign up with your RO email, and you have access to a wide library. So if you're looking to learn about leadership,
Mm-hmm.
want to build yourself up, or you just want to do some fantasy and read some Dune or Foundation,
Okay.
you can do some of those. And
Huh?
here's another
There's
beauty.
more?
More beauty.
You gotta be kidding me. There's more?
I'm not kidding. So let's say there's a book you want to read and it's not in the library.
Uh-huh.
You just gotta email Todd Wynn.
Todd Wynn.
Todd Wynn,
Oh.
the one and only Todd Wynn,
He
and
is
he'll be gladly gladly put the book in the store for you to also
Really?
download.
Really?
Really,
Have you
really.
done that?
I've done it. I've read it. I've slept through it. Great audiobooks, great commute time, and it's just a great time.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely download it and try it.
Perfect. Libra,
Libra.
where you can get reading into your ear.
A lot of just playing games with it or whatever, like, oh, what's the average temperature in Toronto or something stupid like that. But now it's like, hey, we actually use this. We're taking paragraphs we get from people and using it to summarize and all that. So it's a lot of fun. What, Mr. Mark Urrabaz, thank you so much for making the long drive up from San Antonio to join us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Mr. James Donald. Holmes.
Boy, we're going full name.
Yeah, I learned something today. So
Somebody started a bit of a trend. Mark, what do you do at RO currently?
So currently, I'm superintendent, kind of overseeing the data center projects that we're running in San Antonio. Also, kind of a MEP specialist, just due to the experience I've had working these buildings and working in the mission critical field.
Did you start off at RO out of school, or did you come here from another GC? Kind of, what's your hero story? How'd you get here and save us from all the deficiencies in the MEP installation part?
So my story is a little bit different. It follows the old school superintendent role of learning out in the field, coming up throughout the field. My last company I worked for, we had a lot of experience with data center building, and RO wanted me. So kind of the story I had was my last company. I was working ground up jobs, data center remodels, stuff like that, mission critical work for the local companies in San Antonio, bigger companies that we would go in and remodel their data halls, upgrade their UPSs, upgrade their infrastructure to keep their companies going. To keep so working all that, and when I'm about 26 years old, or I'm sorry, 36 years old, I was on some smaller projects, and I got with my wife, and I was like, I'm 36 years old. I need to be busier. I need to be building my resume. I don't need to be slowing down my work. So at that time, it was multiple small jobs, and I just wasn't getting the enjoyment that I needed. So I, talked to my wife and said, I think it's about time to leave. 10 years at that last company. I decided that it's time to answer the phone calls from the headhunters. And, that next morning, I got a phone call.
That was quick.
Yeah. When you're a superintendent, they're always calling.
Especially superintendent with mission critical experience in Central Texas. Like you're about as close to a unicorn as we're going to find nowadays.
I've heard that before. So answered the phone call. Said, yeah, I'm interested. What, who are you working for, and what do they have to offer? Rogers O'Brien, and at that time I'd never heard of Rogers O'Brien. So it wasn't. I stayed in my group as a superintendent. You don't, you're on your project, you run your project. You don't really mingle with the office and I'm not out looking for other companies to work for. It's more of I'm focused on my job, and that's what I'm doing. So, when RO came up, I made a few phone calls to people I know, friends of mine that have been around. They were like, yeah, RO is a good company. So started doing a little my own investigating and found out it was, So I set up a meeting with Alan. We had multiple meetings and talks and interviews with Alan and Cisco and a few other gentlemen. And 5 months later, I left my last company and came here. First job I was on, mission critical Cyrus One project. Great resume builder, and it hasn't stopped.
right into the fire.
Yes.
There's so many words there that I think we need to pick apart. But before we get there, you've been here for 5 years now.
Yes.
Roughly
right around somewhere. I forget. As you get older, you forget, but it's been a while.
It's not looking good for me.
Half a decade.
What do you love about RO?
This is, everyone says the people, right? So I'm going to say something a little bit different. Yes. What I like about RO is this right here, right? Y'all guys, you called me and reached out to me about a month ago, asked me if I wanted to do this. My first response was, hell yeah, let's do it. So I like this. I like that y'all guys are understanding the importance of thinking outside the box, and we see that a lot. Or at least I see that a lot on how we sell projects, how we go against other competitors in the market, and how we present ourselves is a lot different compared to other companies. I like I like the whole technology role RO plays in the industry, and how we are leaders and less followers. We're developing a lot of cool things over here, and it's very hard to compete with this.
Man, I'd strongly agree with all that, and I hope that we as an R&D department can keep pushing those boundaries and pushing you guys forward and finding new solutions out there.
Yeah. But at the same time, it is the people, right? I mean, and
you couldn't give it to me, Mark. You couldn't just give me the tech. You couldn't give the R&D like, yes, this is what we love. You had to make it about the people too.
That's right. Well, there's multiple reasons why. I mean, it's not always just one reason that keeps somebody somewhere, right?
For sure.
So yeah, no, it's I think it's the upper management making us feel important, right? Making us feel wanted and needed, and giving us that support. You don't get that in a lot of places, right? A lot of places you're just a number. So that's my point on that.
I like it, and I could not agree more. Going back to some of the talking about what you do, could you just real quickly, for anyone out there that might not be familiar, could you define what mission critical is, what that means to RO and to you?
Yes, I mean, mission critical is a general term, and that is more of a working in projects, working in a live environment, working in buildings, hospital buildings, where you cannot lose power. You have to maintain power and keep the critical infrastructure of that building up and running, right? So that's what more mission critical is. That involves working in hospitals, upgrading their systems, whether it be building rooms out in a hospital, or it's upgrading a data center, adding another data hall to a data center that is currently running. So that's what mission critical is. What mission critical is to RO is the same, but it's I think we're specializing more in the data center side of it. We do have hospital work in San Antonio and stuff like that, but for me, it's data centers. That's where my experience lies.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's most of what I'm familiar with here as well. Want to make sure we're on the same page. And not to get too technical here, but you also mentioned UPSs.
Sure.
What is an UPS? Why is it important? Of all the things you could have said, you mentioned data halls, mission critical, and UPSs.
Well, that's a job that I did. It just kind of popped in my head, for HEB, which is a company I don't know if y'all have heard of up here, but it's a fairly large company in Texas. And we were asked to come in, and they had one UPS. It was this uninterrupted power supply, right? That's what it is. And it's an old one, been about 30 years since that one had been installed, and they asked us to come in and replace it. So we had to have a separate UPS come in and handle the load while we transferred over, and we reworked their old one. But with the mission critical portion of like what we just kind of talked about was that we had to keep all of their systems up and running, right? So UPS is a huge part of a data center because it provides clean power to all of the servers that are inside the data hall itself. And it's without that, you don't have a data center, right? You don't have that's like the heart of a data center, right? And you need that.
It's so interesting sitting here talking with you because it's almost an entirely different world.
It is.
I think of, you are a superintendent. Troy Wylam is a superintendent. I think I could sit down and have a conversation with each of you, and there would be about zero overlap with regards to the technicalities of building. I think with regards to leadership and training people, I'm sure there'd be some overlap. But it's so interesting how specific the data center terminology and world is to that kind of narrow sector of it all.
Right. It can be very intimidating for these new guys coming into the field, but it's not. It's especially with Google now. A lot of acronyms get thrown around, and it's a quick search in your phone and figure out what that means.
I can't remember who it was now. There was I almost want to say it was Anthony O'Leary, but I don't think it was. There's somebody giving lessons on the acronyms on the first Cyrus project. And I think
It might have been Kevin.
Was it Kevin?
I think it was
Okay.
Kevin.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right.
He's very proud of his knowledge.
Yes.
In the acronym.
Yeah. I remember going out, I think it was like once a week.
Yes.
Because we were hiring people left and right. It was like every time you walked in the office, there were 5 new people there.
Yeah.
And he'd sit everyone down and do this 2-hour, intro to data center classes and go through all these cracks, crays, UPSs, and talk about, the data halls and the different components and all that. It's very informative. And I love that he saw a need and jumped on it. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that had to be processed. Oh, let's figure out how to turn this into a learning program and get a curriculum together. I was like, no, dude, you see an issue, fix it. Go for it.
Yeah, it's you sent me some questions in previous, obviously before we came in here, and a lot of people are intimidated with the MEP portion of buildings and builds, but there's nothing. It's just another trade that you need to be responsible for and learn. So there is nothing that I see as intimidating, but I can see how people would see that.
Perhaps nothing intimidating, but I do think it seems to me it's a bit different than structure or interiors or something like that. So what do you think it is? Are there particular things that makes MEP very different from other aspects of construction?
Yes. Yeah. There is a difference, right? So it's a good comparison would be the human body, right? MEP stands for mechanical, electrical and plumbing. But you also have fire alarm in there. You have security. You have low voltage controls. Those are all, electrical is what makes the building run. Just like your nerves and your body. Mechanical is what makes the building breathe, which is just like your organs, right? So that's kind of what the MEP, field is the organs that make the building run. Right.
You said it was like a body. I don't know where we were going.
Yeah, no.
This could be a slippery slope. I have our first redaction on an R&D podcast. No, that is interesting. Yeah, because you do have the organs, the neurons, all that kind of making it all come together. You can have if we look at a person that's in a coma or something like that, we're like, it's a person, but they're not exactly functional.
Right.
But
I guess so. It is very intricate, right? These just like the human body is, right? It's very, these buildings are very intricate in their designs. You have to be extremely knowledgeable in the design team, building these buildings, and just like a doctor would be, with the body, right? These things every day every day in technology there's advancements, right? Same thing in the data center world is every client wants the newest and greatest technology available, and that's something that everybody has to figure out and learn as they're designing it.
Is that what you would consider one of the most challenging aspects of MP, is that have the constant learning process that comes with that evolution of technology?
No, because I think that once you understand the importance of it, it's easy. But it's the most challenging part of MEP is understanding the importance of it, right? And what I mean by that is when we go to a client and they are awarding us a project, we need to make sure they understand the importance of that MEP portion of it. And what I mean by that is when we need to release our BIM team, right? We need to release those guys early to get the design down, because without that type of design established, you cannot release materials for fabrication. You cannot bring that stuff in. So I think the most challenging part is making sure our clients can understand that those things need to be released before they release construction, right? That design needs to happen before we're allowed to get out there. And if we both set them up at the same time, then of course the construction part of the build is delayed because the design part, the BIM part of it, modeling it, and making sure everything fits in the areas that it's supposed to fit in. If that's not set in stone, then I'm out there trying to direct in the field, which is a little too late, So I would definitely say the most important part, or the hardest part of the MEP side, is making sure we have our clients understand that this is a very, very critical part of your building. and it needs to be addressed and taken care of first before we do anything else.
If you don't believe us, we'll prove it to you by removing your organs.
Yeah,
and
if
we'll
you
see
don't
how
believe
well you
us,
function.
exactly. Here's everything. The building's up and standing, but we have no guts.
Yeah. No, yeah, shout out to the VDC team. I know
Yes.
Vanessa and Nacho down there in San Antonio, they've been grinding on those data centers for
They have.
years now, and that is not easy work to coordinate.
It is no. I mean, you know that firsthand.
Yes, I do. I knew enough to know that I need to find an R&D role for James. This VDC stuff, this is for the birds. This is for folks that are into the details, into the weeds. That's
Yeah.
not where I belong.
That's right.
But yeah, it's I think it's validation for them to hear from someone like yourself that's a huge part of it.
Sure.
And yeah, gosh, communicating that to the owner, it's so tough.
Yeah, owners, they obviously understand that that is important, but what they are always afraid of is that releasing too early and kind of like what I just mentioned earlier about technology. Like they always want the latest and greatest technology in their building, and so their design team is always learning what that is, and so it's hard to release that portion of the build without getting all of those details in line and in order and presenting it to the client and making sure that's what they want. And so I'm always in a position where it's hard to move forward without those decisions being made prior to me showing up.
It's not the most glamorous part of a project either. It's not like the beautiful facade and the fun glazing
Correct.
and all of that everyone's like, this is what everyone gets to see. This is what they'll interact with.
Mm-hmm.
It all gets hidden away in walls. I guess a little less so with data centers, but
Right. And back when I first started, I did a lot of high-end, like hotels, high-end law firms, stuff like that. And it was very detailed, with millwork and with and mainly millwork, right? That was kind of a big deal. And so when I see a data center, it's just as detailed, if not more detailed, and the skill is there that's needed. Which is a different type of beautiful, I guess, right? It's not the eye pleasing, but to an electrical engineer, this is what I love. Looks great, To a mechanical engineer, this is their artwork. So it's the same, but it's not, right? It's just as important. It's very detailed, but it's just a different type of eye candy for us to look at.
beautifully put, sir. Gosh, getting me all
Ooh,
chilled out over here. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Go get myself a picture of some chilled water pipe
there you
underneath
go.
the raised floor and put that up.
Whatever you like, you can get you pictures of.
Do you think there's a particular part of the MEP process that's the most misunderstood by the masses?
I think just the fact that when you walk into one of these buildings and you see all this, all these raceways and pathways for electrical conduits, you see drawings, electrical drawings that are 400 pages. You see security drawings that are 150 pages. You see mechanical drawings that are 70 pages, and you got to tie those all together, making sure they all work the right way. That can be very overwhelming. So I think what people don't understand, it's very overwhelming, but it's not difficult to manage. You get the right players in the right positions, you're managing the teams, and you're not managing an individual, making sure there's one conduit going here and it's tying into here. You're managing the team as a whole. So I think when people think of these type of buildings and they think of MEP, they're more of like, I'm going to stray away from that. I would rather just be in a core and shell or just do a interior finish out. And it's not as complicated as it sounds.
So, that intrigues me. Do you feel like that your job is a job that anyone can do, or do you think that it takes a particular kind of personality and skill set to pull off being an MEP superintendent?
Well, if Alan's listening or Cisco's listening, I'm the only one that can do this. Right? But our MEP team got Herb. He can teach people. They're very knowledgeable. They are good at what they do, and so somebody that's in the construction industry already can be taught. Somebody that comes into this industry is a little more difficult. You don't want to just throw somebody out there and hopefully they learn. You want to make sure they have a strong foundation to build off of. So it's kind of you're already in the industry, yes, you can be taught. If you're just new trying to come in, it's going to take some time, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I know you mentioned before a moment ago that you were doing high-end hotels and things like that, and that the millwork in particular required a lot of detail and finesse, and you're comparing that somewhat to the MEP systems. Do you feel that time you spent building those high-rises makes you a more effective MEP superintendent compared to someone who maybe came up with only an MEP background? Going off book now.
Yeah, you know, it's I wouldn't. Yes, a little bit of that, but I think it's more of just background in general. I mean, wanting to get into the details, you know, and wanting to make sure that what that sub is telling me is the truth and they're not lying to me. You know, so I'm digging deeper and trying to understand and asking more questions with different subs is what makes somebody good at doing this, right? You know, you have to make sure that you double check the subs. You have to make sure that you may not know everything, but you have to at least know that you can't trust everybody. You know, you got to be able to do your own. You got to be able to follow up and do your own investigating. But it's I think all of my experience, you know, throughout my whole life kind of puts me in a position where I'd like to think that I'm good at what I'm doing. You know.
Got to be a bit of a Dick Tracy to go out there and do the MEP sector.
Yes, and that's probably just a more of a just anything, you know, anything in construction management where you're dealing with the today's people. You need to be more of stronger in your field, I guess, is probably the easiest way of putting it.
Valid point. You mentioned that feel like all things that you've done in life have kind of contributed to you being as effective as you are. Outside of work, what do you like to do for fun? Does Mark Urrabaz have fun is the first question.
You know,
Number two is, what is it that you do for fun?
So, you know, I'm a family man. I got 3 kids. I got a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So my fun revolves around them. You know, the days of going out and having fun with coworkers and friends is still there, but it's not as often. You know, we definitely like to go camping. When we have some time, we get away. But you know, I'm also involved in my boys' sports, and my daughter, she's a cheerleader now. She's a 4-year-old little cheerleader. Shout out to Olivia. She, you know, so it's going to their thing. It's attending their games, attending their events. You know, my son's in track. He was in basketball, and so going to those games. So my fun is involving the family now. Like I said, you know, our weekends are filled with sports and our practices. But there's a couple weekends a year where we can get out and take the trailer out and go camping, go exploring around. We do like to do that.
Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. What kind of a trailer do you have? You like the big, like giant 50-foot fifth wheel type, or you have like a little 16-foot Airstream tin cans?
Yeah. So it's not really camping, right? It's a trailer with an AC and a heater, and you got your your electricity and your gas furnace, and you're cooking inside the space. And it's a little pull behind trailer that we have. Yes, I do like the 50-foot pull behind trailers or fifth wheels, but what we have is a little 30-footer that we go traveling around in. But it's fun. You know, it pulls us away from technology. It pulls us away. It brings us back into nature. It relaxes us. It kind of resets me to get back to the grind the next week.
Do you have any favorite destination spots or routine spots you go to?
Well, you know, so I've always grown up camping. My parents brought me into it, and we, we kind of explored all of the state parks around here. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. You know, I do like the classic Gardner State Park, but you know, there's a lot more private parks now where you got water slides, you got golf courses, you've got just basketball courts, you know, tubing. There's a lot more things to do now, arcade areas. I mean, compared to what was before. So I like the more traditional kind of camping, state park type of stuff. My kids like the water slides, the water parks, the basketball courts type of thing. So, you know, I would go with the state park, the old school.
Yeah, the other one is, I don't think that's camping. That's just a resort.
That is
you bring your own room.
Yeah, and the prices show that too, right? But yeah, that is a different way.
Baffles me out looking at camping spots and stuff. Some of the rates for even to just go pop up a tent and have water and power. It's like you're kidding me. You want like $50 a night to just be there? What happened to the old KOAs where it was, throw $3 in a box and
No,
call it a day?
those are long gone.
No more. Oh man, 9, 13, and 4. That's got to be a handful. How do you manage to balance? Obviously, it's a very demanding job. Data centers, in particular, I think are notorious for, round the clock operations. You guys don't stop for holidays. It's not uncommon to be working over weekends or have 2 shifts on a project. How do you manage that kind of workload with having 3 kids and a wife and being a family man?
So definitely RO staffs these jobs, right? These jobs are large. These jobs can handle a large staff. So we split up our weekends. We're not there every weekend, although we're working every weekend, right? So most of the time it's once a month, or maybe even on the bigger jobs, it's once every 2 months, which compared to where I was from, it was, I was ever there 7 days a week, So definitely RO has helped us manage that and has brought my family into my life more. And then it's just, you learn to manage these subs better, right? When a sub calls you at 4 p.m. saying we'll be there in 30 minutes to work, before I'd be like, okay. Now it's like, no, you show up at the right time, and then if you want to stay late, we'll stay late, right? So it's managing the subs correctly and making sure they understand your expectations. So it's better communication to them. And then I have to have a strong wife. She supports. She takes the kids to school. She picks them up because I'm at work. So you definitely have to have a spouse that can handle somebody like myself in construction. As a superintendent, you're on demand all the time, and so it's definitely having a strong spouse.
So you're dad, but she's the hero here.
She's played mom and dad when I'm not there, and that's more often than not.
That's tough, but
RO makes it better, right? Like I said, it's once a month. It's not bad compared to to every weekend.
Sure, yeah. It's I've been there.
Yeah.
Those 80 to 100-hour weeks, they'll tear you apart, and they don't really leave much time for anything else.
That's right. That's where I got all this gray hair from.
All at the same time, or
it's years of buildup, right? 20 years of the business. It's 20 years. I had solid black hair when I, said yes to being a superintendent.
Have you ever considered doing anything else? If the construction industry shut down tomorrow, there is no more construction. What are you moving into? What are you doing? You gonna go be a painter, a baseball coach, or
that's a tough one because my whole life I've been in it, and let's just say commercial construction stopped, I'd jump into residential again, like I do. Build my houses and sell them.
Skirting the question of it, but I'll give it to you. I didn't send that one over ahead of time, so
okay, I'll be a firefighter.
A firefighter,
there you go.
Okay.
Old firefighter. That's what I wanted to do when I was younger.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you decide to go into construction instead of being a firefighter?
Just didn't. I don't know. Just kind of not really. Never said yes. I'll go do it. Right? It was just kind of like
out of it somewhat.
Yeah, I grew out of it, and my dad kind of brought me in this business and kind of pulled me away from it a little bit, and I was fine with that. But when I was younger, that's what I wanted to be.
I could see you being a firefighter. Kind of fits for some reason. I don't know why. What's the most challenging project you've ever built?
Oh, right off the bat, I would say our secret client out there, Mr. MS.
The one that the 2 gentlemen before us so proudly declared.
Yes. That would have been my most challenging job. But I would say this last project that I'm on, QTS, it being a portion of it being SCIF, which is high security project, U.S. citizens only, U.S. products only in the building. For all materials, construction materials, I would say this would be my project. That would be the toughest because of like what you kind of mentioned, mission critical or just data center work always has a tight schedule. And so there's a lot of work that has to happen in a tight time frame. And with U.S. citizens not being available as much nowadays because everybody's building these type of buildings, it was harder. It was harder to manage. And it was harder to get material here on time when needed. And honestly, I I think the next project I go to will be the hardest as well. Just because we're in an industry now, we're in a time right now where our industry is lacking a lot of skilled labor. They're lacking a lot of, during COVID, we lost a lot of quality guys that, older men, older plumbing, master plumbers, older master electricians that had the, 30, 40 years of experience. They're gone, and now we're talking to guys that have 10 years, 15 years of experience, and there's one guy out there that has a 30, but he's bombarded with everything else. So it's the next job we go to is going to be harder.
Man, I think you just struck a vein there. How, throwing you on the spot again here, I'm sorry. How do you think we correct that? And you mentioned, you're excited about the technology, you like
Sure.
RO, trying new things. What is it that you think we can do? And I realize we're one company in a gigantic industry,
Yeah.
but what can we do to help resolve that lack of availability of skilled labor?
That's the $1 million question, because we're not the only
$1 trillion
ones.
question, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we can figure that out. We've got a successful path and a path laid out in front of us. But it's hard. It's hard because you can't produce more people, right? I mean, if their labor is just not out there, well, we're not, right? I guess we're not
Not quickly.
Yes, not quickly enough, right? So, but in 18 years, sure, we can have more people. But it's if the need for manpower is there, but we don't have the manpower available, what do we do, right? So nowadays a lot of subs are pulling or stealing employees from each other by offering them 50 cents more, $1 more, and they're pulling them away. And so what I feel like we could do and RO could do is reach out to the local high schools, and maybe local community colleges, and start recruiting from there skilled labor, and start hiring them. Instead of hiring subs out, we start hiring our own labor, and we start managing that. I mean, that's a lot harder to do because it's a lot more employees that you're trying to retain. But we've tried giving out awards for subs that are doing the best safety for the week. We'll give out gift cards to, hey, y'all, we walked by, and every time we walked by, you had your PTP card filled out correctly. You had your lanyard on that you were working on that needed to be on. You had everything done correctly. You always had your safety glasses on. And so we reward those people. But it wasn't going in. I mean, it was going somewhere where those guys were like, all right, cool, I'll keep it up. But then the other guys were like, well, I was doing that. You didn't give me anything. So then it starts setting a little bit of resentment. And it's like, well, why am I going to do what, if he never notices me?
Right.
So I think hiring them and keeping them as an RO employee, we're able to manage them a little bit better. We're able to reward them a little bit better for the work that they're doing, as opposed to, going out there and, like I said, throwing gift cards out, to people that we notice, because it's like I said, we can't give it to everybody. And on some of these projects, we're in the 700, 800 man count, of at the peak time. So, it is going to be a difficult road ahead of us in the construction industry. How we figure this out and how we manage this is going to be a key to our success. And I don't know other than that.
That's something. It's
It's
more
something.
than I've heard from a lot of people, right? And I think it is interesting because whenever we look at kind of traditional construction problems, right, schedule and budget, well, we took the biggest schedule and the biggest budget items. We said we'll self-perform those, being concrete here, and a lot of GC's concrete and drywall, where it's like, well, those tend to drive the schedule more so than any other particular scope. So we'll do those. We'll maintain control of those so that we can set our expectations and meet them with our own people. We're not asking someone else to do that. But yet whenever it does come to those skilled trades, we're still looking to those trade partners and say, well, that's your problem. You got to deal with that. You need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Versus taking some, I won't say responsibility, but kind of self-implementing a solution there.
Yeah, it's real easy for me to say my job's the most important job. The other job that your employees are on, I don't care about. We need, our schedule is important. You need to match our schedule. You need to bring us our guys. And it's real easy to say that, and we do say that often, but it doesn't mean that they can still pull them away and bring them to our job. So it's right now we're on jobs where we have our own laborers doing work that we just cannot get done in a timely manner. And so why don't we hire more skilled labor to fill that void our subs are giving us?
Well, hopefully Elon will get us that Neuralink sooner than later, and we can take all those 18, 19-year-old kids fresh out of high school and throw a chip in their brain and say, "There you go, you're a master plumber now, Neo.
Exactly.
Congratulations."
The whole years of experience is not needed anymore with that.
That'd be a beautiful thing, but I'm sure that will just raise even more problems and more issues that we're not even considering at this moment.
That's right.
Ms. Courtney Navarro says that Mark is amazing and that you're definitely a great asset to the San Antonio family. So
Well, thank you.
I'd strongly agree with that, Courtney. He's awesome guy. Happy you're able to come up here today. We're not done. I'm not trailing off at all.
Okay, good.
No, we've got 9 minutes. We're going to take advantage of every one of them.
Fast.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It does.
Gosh. If it's something a little more fun here, if you had to give a title to the book about Mark Urrabaz, what is the title of that book?
It's going to be more of a comedy, I think. I'm a guy that
40-year-old.
Not that type of comedy, but with 3 kids, it could be. Right? Nowadays, I would, I don't know. It'd be, true life of a superintendent, I guess. Some of the, I get all sorts of excuses on why things aren't done. And I've always, on what. I guess the truth is funnier than actual fiction, because I'll plan something and everything's all set in stone. And then the day comes, and the truck that was delivering the material fell off a bridge, landed in a river, and washed it all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, right? And then I got to go to the client and say, hey, the truck that we just had here fell off a bridge, and so, stories like this, it happens all the time, and they're all uncontrollable. But sometimes you just laugh at it because it's like, no, there's no way that this could have happened, and it did. And now I've got to go talk to the client and explain it to this without laughing that something like this happened, and now we got to replan it all again, So and these stories and things happen all the time in every single job. So I wouldn't doubt that, get a bunch of us together and we can come up with the same stories that happen, the same excuses. It's kind of stems from my dog ate my homework type of thing, where it's like, my supplier dropped the ball type, and so it's my life my biography would be filled with a bunch of stories that are unbelievable, I guess.
Might have to go around at some point and start collecting those stories. I feel like there's a market for this. I don't know who it is, but
I think so too. And you start with, the Troy Wylands and the Dale Harrisons that have been around for a long time, and I guarantee you they can fill a book real fast.
I don't know if we can publish half of what Troy says, or Dale for that matter.
True.
It'd be mostly redacted, or it'd have to be rated, what is it, MA-18 or something like that.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
But it'd be a fun read for sure. There is not a doubt in my mind about that. No, that's a lot of fun. What was that? What did you say? True life?
Yeah, True Life, I think. True Life of a Superintendent, I think.
True Life of a Superintendent. That might be what we have to rebrand this as.
Yeah.
True life of RO employees.
There you go. We needed more than an hour, though, I think, right?
a lot more.
Okay.
A lot more. How long have you been in San Antonio for?
My whole life.
Your whole life?
Yeah.
Born, raised, worked?
Born, raised. I worked in Dallas for a while. And that's where I got laid off in construction, my first layoff. It was in Dallas.
Was that in the kind of 08 recessionary area?
Or? A little bit before that, and it was more of just a new GC coming into town, had a bunch of jobs, and then all those jobs got stopped, and it was like, all right, well, see you later. We don't have any more work. We're going back to New York type of thing.
Gotcha.
And so, so I lived up there for a little bit, and then I worked in Austin for about 4 years, but no, I would say most of my career has been in San Antonio.
So you spent a bit of time in Dallas, a bit of time in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
What's different? Are there things different about working in San Antonio compared to those other cities?
Yes, and it's kind of sad to say, but it's we lack a lot of knowledgeable, kind of like what we just talked about. Like we have a lot of unskilled labor, and the competitiveness in the sub market in San Antonio is really high because we're near the border. We get a lot of people that come in and compete with jobs that will underbid us, and they'll get the work. And whether it's a sub, like they'll underbid the local subs and get work, and then they're just not skilled. So I think it's a harder market to be in. I think that in Austin and in Dallas, we trust our subs a little bit more. They're a little more knowledgeable. Not to say that we don't have great subs in San Antonio, because I think we do. We have a lot, but we also have a lot of subs that are needing some maybe not. I need some help with their their profession.
So a bit of a challenge, but also potentially a bit of an opportunity to perhaps grab some of those guys and lift them up. Say, hey, what can we do to help you guys out? How can we support your trade and making sure that you have the right tools, the right information at the right time, so that you're able to grow? And
definitely, I mean, with every challenge, there's an opportunity, right? So yeah, I would agree.
I like to think so and hope so. Mark, I think we've got time for one more question here, and it would be, if you had to give young Mark some advice, what would it be?
I saw a commercial the other day for a local plumber. He was advertising right in the middle. I think middle of the day was like, we'll offer our plumbers $100,000 to go be a plumber.
Can you give me that phone number?
Yeah. So my initial thought was, wow, they're paying their plumbers $100,000. I want to be the owner of that company. I want to be the master plumber, right? If knowing what I know now, I would have definitely got into either a trade and got in my master's in either electrical or plumbing. Knowing the need and the demand for it now is ridiculous, especially even plumbing. Plumbing is definitely a field that we are lacking people in. Definitely would have probably gone down that road. In fact, a friend of mine that I know from high school has his own plumbing company. He's doing very well, very well.
It seems like one of the more difficult ones to recruit for.
It is. I guess that's why you have to offer them $100,000 to go deal with all that. But like I said, running that business is what I would want to do, right? Yeah. And what I would have told my younger self is to get into a trade and run with it and get that experience.
And I think too, it's worth noting to anyone, if this one of the 300 listeners out there happens to be some kid over at Crockett High School trying to figure out what they want to do with life, there's unfavorable parts of any job, whether it be an office job or a skilled trade job. If you're an electrician, you're going to be up in that attic pulling wire when it's 130 degrees in August. And if you're a plumber, you're going to have to go unclog a drain from time to time.
Yes.
But there's a lot of other stuff you do too. You can go be a plumber and you can focus on pressurized water systems. You're going to be dealing with pumps. You're going to be dealing with
a lot more specialty.
Yeah. Yep.
100%.
So it's, I think in particular with plumbing, there's kind of a certain viewpoint that a lot of people take, and it's like
there's definitely a stigma with the plumber, and that's just in general. There's always we're dumb construction workers. We don't know anything. We're a mess, and some are, I can't disagree with some of that, but no, I mean there is a certain stigma that follows along the plumbers and electricians and construction workers in general. But those are all stigmas, man. Let that go, and the lack of people there. We all make money, right? And we're not dumb. Right? We need to be knowledgeable in our field, and it's severely something that we're lacking nowadays. Is people thinking that I don't want to be a plumber, right? But there's so many different parts of being a plumber, right? I don't want to be an electrician. Well, there's so many different parts of being an electrician. It's not just dealing with electrical. There's so many different avenues to go down that road. That you could find a niche and you can make yourself wealthy and your family wealthy for a very long time.
Absolutely, Mark. I could not agree more. And thank you again for coming down. This was fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah,
I love this. Keep going for another hour, but people tell me that like an hour is all I've got. I've got an hour commute. If you go more than an hour, I'm not listening. So, and also real quick reminder there, Libro FM. Get out there. If you have books you want added to that list, contact Todd Wynn. Go in, get yourself educated.
Yep.
Don't be a dullard out there. Make yourself better. Thank you again, Mark. We will see you all again next week, next Wednesday.
Awesome. Bye.